Please welcome Dr. Jean Wright.
Thank you so much. I must be up next because I matched the picture up there, right? It would be really frightening if I came out with a different outfit on. But thank you for that great introduction. And I hope by this point today, you've already had an idea. All the things that you've seen have stimulated you, whether it's by sound or motion or looking at a great picture or thinking about something. In fact, Linus Pauling, the Nobel Prize winner, said, the way to have a great idea is to have a lot of ideas. A lot of really bad ideas, right? How many times, did it take to invent the light bulb? That's why we always show the picture of Edison and the light bulb. Thousands. Now let's bring it to healthcare. How many patients died undergoing a liver transplant before the first one was successful? Any answers in the studio audience there? 11. Okay, so imagine you're Dr. Tom Starzl and you're going up to do informed consent on the 12th patient. Well, he's either got a 100% score at that point, right? It's pretty intimidating when we begin to bring innovation into healthcare because, after all, it is people's lives. But frankly, the principles that apply to innovation, whether it's in the arts, the sciences, healthcare, is actually all the same. In fact, I'd like to cast the next few minutes together around this whole concept of analogy. Now, of course, I had the advantage. I knew what I was planning to say. But as I watched those dancers that were out here, I thought about a lot of different things. I thought about the muscles on those guys and how they interacted. And I thought about the timing. Remember fast muscles and slow muscles? I thought about the colored patterns on those women's dresses. And I actually thought of DNA in the human genome. I know, I'm a geek, what can I say? My kids would self-confess that. But as I begin to look at things, I see patterns. And I would submit to you that one of the best ways to come up with something innovative is not only to have a lot of ideas, but frankly, to steal from other people's ideas. Now, steal smartly, right? Watch the trademark and the copyright and the patent, all those things. But honestly, there's a lot of great ideas between our different disciplines that when we watch and hear somebody else speak, there may be an analogy that applies to the problem you're trying to solve. So let's start with this space, all right? Starbucks, Caribou. What is it really? When you think about problem solving and trying to innovate around a problem, sometimes it's best to get down to what's the core element that's going on. Well, part of me, the Scotch-Irish part of me would say, it's 4 cents of brown beans with hot water poured over it, for which they're going to charge me $3.50, and I'm gladly going to pay it. Now, there's a business model for you right there. But what is it really? It's also a third space. I mean, honestly, people don't go there just to drink coffee. If you wanted to do that, you could do it at my kitchen table. It would cost you about 4 cents. You could do it at McDonald's. I think for the next 2 weeks, it's actually free there. There's a lot of places if that was the end object. But Starbucks and Caribou and other places like this were smart enough to realize there's a third space that is created, a space that is not home and not work, where people go together and chat and start businesses and read the newspaper. And I understand people have written books sitting at Starbucks. There's a third space there. And our culture began to speak back to those that were innovating around Starbucks, saying, we like places like this. In fact, we like it so much, here's another one. Now I have the disadvantage, you can see me and I can't see you, although you're probably better looking, so it might work out better if it was the other way around, but I can't tell if you can recognize this or not. This is actually a store that was at Carolina Place Mall between November and January. It was part of Belk's expansion and trying out, prototyping, piloting some different models of how to reach different generations. This is Bell and Tie. So if you walked into Carolina Place Mall, you probably wouldn't recognize it at all as a Belk store. But look what they created in the middle of the store. They created a third space. Where do you think they got that idea? In fact, if you went through the store at all, I took my teenage daughter, who first went, "Oh, Mom, do I have to go with you on another one of these science projects?" To which I said, you know, "Shut up, if you're nice, I might buy you something at the end." Within seconds, they had her hooked. I thought, man, I'm glad they're not dealing cocaine or something. This could be really a bad place. But she's trying on the clothes. They have little cues in the dressing rooms, and they have Instagram. Now, my generation, we don't do Instagram, right? We're the old fogies. We're on Facebook, we're on AARP, we're on other lists. But we don't do this Instagram thing. So she came out with this cute little outfit on, and she said, "What do you think?" At which point this man ran over, took her picture, and put it on Instagram. And it was on this huge screen. Within seconds, 76 kids from her school clicked and liked, right? Talk about a marketing campaign gone viral. Where is the store? What are they selling? How do you get there? It was from a third space. It was from a different approach. It was from getting another idea. Let me take you to one other third space. This may not photograph as well, but this is actually one of our doctor's offices down in the Blakeney area. Dr. Greg Widener is a very innovative doctor, and he's been exploring how do patients really want to have a dialogue with their healthcare system. We know it's not in the room that smells like alcohol and has all those little cotton balls and tongue depressors in it. They're telling us we want to be in that third space. We want it to feel more like a conversation over the kitchen table. You know, Doc, if you're looking at the x-ray, could you show me the x-ray at the same time? Could you open my medical record and show it to me? After all, it is my data. So an idea that starts at Starbucks, moves to a Belk department store, ends up in a doctor's office, all by analogy. Now, if you were a really geeky person, you might be reading Radio Shack magazine this afternoon. Now, no offense if any of you are, sneaking it into the building under your coat, but I've never really picked up an issue of it, never really had a desire, but one of our executive vice presidents did. He was a closet Radio Shack guy. And in the back of the magazine was an ad for this thing, a palm scanner. They had been designed for the banking industry so that when people go up to an ATM, instead of reading your fingerprints or taking your password, it would actually look at your hand. And in fact, this is what you see when you put your hand on one of those kind of scanners. It's non-invasive, it's unique to you and to me. It doesn't require a HIPAA violation. I don't have to share my social security number, and yet, by going from something that was designed for banking, we now have this in hundreds of locations where we have taken a great idea in one area and by analogy brought it into another domain. All right, now, as you have figured out from the introduction, the few minutes together, I'm not all serious and not all geek. I'm actually a really fun mom, and so I took my kids on a Disney cruise. My oldest one, who's quite wise, said, "How are we paying for this?" I said, "Your first year of college." Surprise! It really kept her worried for several days. I thought, I can't rob the joy of that. No, we were celebrating a family member's 50th wedding anniversary. Most of the time, I am not in tune. I'm kind of the busy mom, I'm the geeky scientist, I'm thinking about 27 things. And I happened to walk into the play area on a cruise, and my kids were checking in. And here were two treasure chests set up in front of them. And they were asked, "Please put your arms in the treasure chest and reach for treasure." At which point, when the moment happened, they put their hands in there, 40 jet sprays came out and bathed them from tip of the finger to the elbow. Now I need to get a body-sized one to put them in the garage, right? Just hose them down. But every kid, before it went into the play area, essentially got a surgical scrub from fingertip to elbow. Now somebody's laughing. Guess what? We went back and did the science. In fact, let me stop for a second because I'm getting out of my out of order. I saw this. My kids thought it was cool. It only takes 12 seconds. They could sling their hands like they do at home, and then they went off to the play place. And gratefully, none of us got norovirus. They didn't shut down the cruise. So, this thing must work. So Dr. Magoo comes back to work, and we begin to talk about hand washing. Now, For those of you who aren't in healthcare, we all know we're supposed to do it. Okay, but you know what it's like to stop between every single patient? Do you know what it's like if you're in the newborn ICU and you're busy here and somebody's, oops, alarm goes off over there? Suddenly, you got to stop and do a 2-minute scrub, because that's what our rule book says. So I was called into a meeting, and one of my younger designers was working on this project, and he said, Dr. Jane, we're finding that it's some basic things. It's like, didn't wash hands. We need some sort of alarm, or we need a post at the door, you know, that spots people and, you know, announces didn't wash hands. I thought, well, that would really be, you know, customer satisfying and a great experience. You can see our ratings go like that. And all of a sudden, I remembered my trip. In fact, I still had the pictures on my cell phone, and I take a lot of unusual pictures because I never know. I might use it in a talk like this. And so I pulled this picture out and I said, look at this. You put your arms in it for 12 seconds, and they say that you're clean. Well, we did the homework. The company is Meritech. In fact, that is exactly what happens. In fact, it's 99.98% effective. So as you sit here today, we now have 3 of these units outside of our neonatal intensive care units. Nurses love it. Families love it. Patients don't know yet because they're too little. There's the little ones in the glass boxes. But now it's not a hindrance for somebody to stop and wash their hands. So by analogy, by looking at something that was fun, like a treasure chest, and then thinking about how could we apply it, we actually found better science than what we found using our traditional methods. Let me take you to one more form of art, body art. You know, what could possibly be inspirational for the healthcare field from that? I mean, aren't you guys always trying to shut down tattoo parlors? And aren't you worried about needles? And aren't you worried about, yeah, we are. But you know what? People have changed since my generation, right? My mama taught me, don't have one, don't. Well, the newer folks, you know, they think differently about it. In fact, they don't even mind it being, right, in a place where everybody can see. It's a work of art. And I want you to see what I think about and feel about. So what could you do with that in healthcare, knowing that? You could do this. See, if people don't mind having something on them, you can actually put a sensor on them that's no bigger than the size of a tattoo. This one actually measures heart rate, respirations, and pulse oximetry, the amount of oxygen in their blood. Wow. The size of a tattoo, put out in an easy place where people could scan or be easily read, uploaded to Bluetooth, goes to their doctor's office, information fed back. How do you know people are willing to do that? Because they're willing to have things like the word believe tattooed on their hand. That's where ideas come from for us. It's not that we just sit in a geeky lab all the time or reading really boring journals. In fact, somebody backstage was asking me, where do I get ideas? And I showed them, here's Flipboard. Here's how I search the magazines and the news every day. You know, I go on Disney cruises. Now, I wonder if that makes it a business experience. I don't think so. You know, I observe the dancers on the stage. I listen to the music around me. And inside of each one of those is an analogy that I might be able to play off of and solve a problem in the future. And I hope you working with the arts and science community can do the same thing. Thank you very much.